There was a new preacher in town. Brand new, right out of seminary, wet behind the ears. And after he had arrived and got us settled into his house, one of the pastors from a neighboring congregation in town, different denomination, but you share something, he stopped over. And he said, "I'm the pastor from over here. You're new in town." He said, "Yeah, I am." He says, "You know what? I always wanted to have a mentor when I was new. Why don't I mentor you?" And he says, "What we can do is we can get together once a week on Monday. That's preacher's day off, And we'll spend some time. Let's ride bikes together. We'll talk about whatever's going on. If you got things you want advice on, you just want to talk to somebody, it's okay with me." And the young preacher says, "I'd like that." So the next Monday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, the two of them met down at the parking lot of the grocery store. And they went on a bike ride and they talked. Week in and week out, they did that every Monday morning at 7 o'clock. Until one week, 7 o'clock came and the older preacher was sitting there with his bicycle. 7:10 came and the older preacher was still all by himself with his bicycle. And 7:20 came and the older preacher was thinking about leaving when all of a sudden he looked up and walking around the corner of the grocery store came the young preacher. And the older preacher said, "Where's your bicycle?" And the young preacher says, "You're not going to believe this. Somebody stole my bicycle." And the older preacher said, "This is why we preach. It's the way of the world. Tell me what happened." He says, "Well, that isn't even the worst of it, because I'm pretty sure it was one of the members of my congregation that stole my bicycle." He says, "Why would you think that?" He says, "Because the last place I saw my bike was I put it right outside the church door before I went into the church council meeting. And I came out and it was gone." And the older preacher says, "Even in the flock of sheep, sometimes there's a wolf." He says, "But I got a way you can get it back." "Well, how's that?" says the younger preacher. The older preacher says, "Did you ever preach on the 10 Commandments yet?" He says, "Well, no, not yet." He says, "Well, that's what you should do this Sunday. You get up there and you start preaching those 10 Commandments, and when you get to the thou shalt not steal, you hammer home the point. And the heart of the person who took your bicycle will be convicted, and they'll bring your bicycle right back." The younger preacher says, "I'll try that." So the next Monday morning, 7 o'clock, the old preacher's in the parking lot with his bicycle. And sure enough, come riding around the corner is that young preacher on his bicycle. And when he pulled up, the older preacher says, "Praise the Lord, you got your bicycle back. Did you do what I told you to do?" And the young preacher says, "Well, yes, I did." And he said, "And you convicted the heart of the person who took your bicycle." He says, "Well, not quite that way." "Well, what happened?" He said, "Well, I did what you told me to do. I started out at the beginning. 'I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods before me.' And I was sort of slow and quiet. But then as I was going along, it was, 'You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. And remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And honor your father and your mother. And thou shalt not kill.' And I started to pick it all up. And I got the 'thou shalt not commit adultery.' And, well, that's when I remembered where I left my bicycle. And that is my story."